My name is Pierce. Former homicide. Now private. People call when something doesn't make sense, when facts warp and shadows move in ways they shouldn't. I hadn't planned to work that week. In fact, I was doing something I rarely allow myself, resting. A modest room just outside the city, a thermos of strong coffee, and a paperback I'd promised to finish months ago. That's when the call came, from an old colleague, voice low, hesitant. "You ever been to Fairbridge Zoo?" I said I hadn't. He exhaled like that answer disappointed him. "Then maybe you'll see it fresh. Come soon." No explanation, just coordinates. And something in his voice, not fear, exactly. Weariness, maybe? Something hollowed out. Fairbridge Zoo sat on the outskirts of a great town no one bragged about living in. It wasn't famous, wasn't big. A relic of another time, built decades ago and left to molder in obscurity. I arrived just after dawn. Fog hugged the ground like a patient disease. There were no sounds, no bird calls, no stirring cages. The front gate was open. No ticket booth, no guard. Just a laminated sign swinging on a broken nail. Closed for maintenance. I stepped through. The air inside felt different. Heavy. Sterile. Like something dead had been cleaned too well. The first thing I noticed, no animals. Cages were intact. Enclosures clean. But not a single living creature. Except one. A lone chimpanzee sitting in a glass enclosure. Unmoving. Facing the corner. Its breath barely fogged the glass. I tapped the side. No response. There were signs of recent life, food trays, footprints, discarded zookeeper gear, but not a single person in sight. Then I found the office. The main administrative office was unlocked. Inside, papers scattered, drawers pulled, drawers empty. Someone had left in a hurry. The computer had been wiped. Factory reset. Nothing but a default screensaver and a flickering mouse. Then I noticed something odd. Photos on the wall, smiling staff, ribbon cuttings, animal caretakers, all had names underneath. But one photo was torn, the largest one. Group photo. Someone had cut out a single person, with a blade. The nameplate beneath the gap read, Dr. L. Harrow, Head of Animal Behavior. I checked the drawers again, this time with patience. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard under the desk, I found a journal. Leather-bound. Unlabeled. It belonged to Harrow. Most of the entries were mundane. Feeding schedules, enrichment notes, species temperament tracking. But about halfway through, the tone shifted. March 7th. The lioness avoided eye contact today. She has never done that. Not even when sick. She stared at the western fence for 3 hours straight, unblinking. We ran blood tests. Nothing unusual. March 14th. They won't sleep. None of them. The zookeepers too. We're taking shifts now. Something's wrong. March 19th. It's in the vents. I heard it last night. It clicks like it has too many joints. Tamara said she saw something by the primate cages. She's not coming back tomorrow. She says she doesn't want to end up like the giraffes. There were no entries after March 21st. Outside, the sun had begun to rise fully, but the zoo remained gray. No birds. No cries. No movement. I turned to leave the office, and heard a low hum from beneath the floor. Not mechanical. Organic. Like breathing. The sound below the floor wasn't loud. Just wrong. Too smooth, too constant. Not machinery. Not plumbing. Not the groaning of an old building. Something was there, and it wanted to be ignored. I found the trapdoor in the far corner of the office, half hidden behind a rusted filing cabinet. No lock, just a recessed handle worn by years of use. I pulled it open. A narrow stairwell led downward, made of concrete. The walls were sweating. I took a breath and descended, flashlight in one hand, other on my sidearm. The passage was tight, damp, and smelled of metal and something acidic. At the bottom, a long maintenance tunnel, probably used for electrical routing or old plumbing. The humming grew louder as I walked. After maybe 50 steps, I came to a junction, 3 directions, unmarked. I chose the left. My instincts said to. It led me to a row of observation rooms, small cells with glass panels and red emergency lights. I looked into each one. Room 1, a baboon enclosure. Empty. Scratch marks on the inside of the glass. Deep, frantic. Room 2, storage. animal feed scattered. Something had broken in. The steel cabinet was torn open like paper. Room 3, human. A person, sitting back against the wall, head down. I opened the door slowly. The man was alive, breathing, barely, wearing a zookeeper's uniform. "Dr. Harrow?" I asked. His head rose slightly. His eyes were bloodshot, face pale and gaunt. "No," he whispered. I locked him in. He tried to stand, failed. I knelt beside him. "Who are you?" "Gavin. I was a vet here. I stayed longer than I should have." I asked what happened. He hesitated, then spoke in fragments. "Something was brought in. Not on record. Came in a crate, no papers, no customs. Harrow called it a specimen. Said it was primate adjacent. Said it could learn. But it wasn't right. Didn't act like anything natural. Eyes like a person's, but no blinking. And the mimicry. It repeated voices like it understood meaning." He shivered. 3 days later, the wolves tore each other apart. The parrots started screaming human words. Security cameras began showing footage before things happened. Then zookeepers started disappearing. Harrow kept saying, "It's a test. It's adapting." I asked where this specimen was now. He looked up at me, hollow-eyed. "Loose. It copies. It remembers. It mimics fear now. That's new." I helped him up. He pointed me toward an old containment zone further in the tunnels. Before I left, I asked him what he meant about Harrow being locked up. "He wanted to merge with it," Gavin said. "Thought it was the next step in cognition. I stopped him before he let it inside. But not before it touched his mind. He's in the old reptile vault, still whispering." I followed Gavin's directions. The halls grew colder, darker. The smell of chlorine and rot intensified. I passed sealed doors, scratched walls, and finally came to a rusted vault door. The reptile holding zone. Inside, darkness. Then a voice. "Pierce." My blood chilled. I hadn't said my name. The voice wasn't Gavin's. It was mine. Something moved in the shadows. Not fast, not slow. Intentional. The thing that emerged was shaped like a man, but imperfect. Limbs not quite aligned. Skin stretched, mask-like, over a skeletal frame. Eyes, too human, glimmered in the dark. It tilted its head, and spoke again. With my voice. "You're here to understand." I raised my weapon. "Don't bother," it said, still using my tone. "You already know what I am. You brought me here the moment you began looking." I pulled the trigger once, twice. No blood, no fall. It just turned and melted back into the dark. Behind me, I heard a whimper. Not animal, human. A glass cell. Inside, Dr. Harrow. Sitting on the ground, scrawling symbols into the walls with his fingernails. He looked up. "They always copy what we fear. We're the pattern. We feed it." I left him there. He was too far gone to follow, and I wasn't sure opening the door would do anyone good. When I returned to the surface, the fog had thickened. The chimpanzee was gone. In its place, a child's drawing, left on the glass from the inside. Stick figures. One tall, one small. Both smiling. One holding a knife. I left the underground facility disoriented and cold. Gavin was gone. Not dead, but missing in a way that felt final. His cot was empty. The blood-soaked blanket had been carefully folded, like someone wanted me to know they'd moved on, or evolved. Above ground, the zoo was silent. Not just quiet, but utterly lifeless. Every habitat looked like a diorama, artificial, frozen, drained of all presence. I needed answers. I remembered seeing a small records office near the back of the zoo, next to the freight gate. I forced the door open. The hinges protested, and used for years. Inside were old file cabinets, most rusted shut. One was labeled, "External Transfers, Harrow." I opened it. Inside were several manifests, all dated around the same month. One caught my eye. Specimen number 29 Theta. Origin, private extraction site in the Pacific Northwest. Containment, reinforced carbon steel crate with biometric locks. Handling requirements, no direct interaction. Anomaly class, adaptive mimetic. Behavior log, vocal mimicry, physical imitation, memory extraction. Special instruction, do not engage if it speaks to you. That last sentence hit me like a punch. I remembered how it spoke in my voice, and others. It didn't just imitate behavior, It learned from it. This wasn't an animal. It was a mirror. I searched the transfer bay. The original crate was still there, wide open. The interior scratched not just by claws, but by hands. Human-shaped marks, like someone, or something, had tried to climb back in. The wind howled outside. I checked my watch. Almost midnight. And then, like it always does, silence fell before the horror arrived. I didn't hear it. I just knew it was behind me. When I turned, I saw myself. Not like a reflection. No distortion. No hint of the unnatural. It was perfect. It wore my coat, matched my posture, even had the same half-healed scar on the lip from a bar fight 2 years back. But its eyes didn't blink, and its mouth began to move. It didn't speak in my voice. It used the voices of everyone I'd ever failed. A little girl I couldn't save, my mother, Gavin. All of them whispered at once. "Let us in." I bolted toward the lower levels. I had a plan now, not a good one, but something desperate enough to work. Deep beneath the reptile house was a forgotten furnace room, old, sealed off, but the emergency gas lines were still active. I opened every valve, let the air fill with fumes. I waited. I didn't run. I stood in the dark. Eventually, I felt it again. It stepped into the room. No voice this time. No face. Just a blank canvas, waiting for me to react, to move, to blink, so it could adapt. But I didn't. I struck a flare, and dropped it. The explosion took the lower level with it. I climbed out half-burned, coughing, barely able to stand. No one asked questions. The news reported a gas leak. No mention of Harrow. No mention of the specimens. The zoo was quietly decommissioned a month later. A week after that, I received a letter. No sender. Inside, a photograph. The chimpanzee enclosure. But the chimp wasn't asleep this time. It was sitting upright, looking into the lens, smiling.